Welcome to everybody who's joining us this evening. Tonight, we are going to be delving into topics from my book, Fashion Stylist: 7 Proven Steps to Build a Banging Portfolio, Powerful Network, and Make Shit Happen. And on every live, I invite a guest expert to join me and discuss topics from the book. And tonight, I am so thrilled to be joined by a brilliant woman who is a transformation strategist, a best-selling author, founder of Rapid Tapping. It is Poppy Delbridge. Welcome, Poppy.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello,
hey.
hello.
So tell us exactly, what is a transformation strategist? Just quickly, so that people who are joining know what you do.
Mm. Well, as you know, my transformation is sort of inner, but
Yeah.
also that affects the outer. So transformation for me is the whole 360 approach. And the strategy is that you're not just trying to learn to acknowledge or sit with what is wrong. You actually create a process that then moves you into where you're authentically meant to be. So transformation strategy is how you use your sort of innate humanness and all
Mm.
the things, neuroscience and psychology and energy work that perhaps we don't know about as a strategy for success.
Love that. So, speaking of success, let's get stuck in. So, in my book, I handwalk the reader through 7 steps to build their portfolio. And then the end of the book really focuses on building your brand, keeping up the momentum, but also a lot on mindset, because you need to be able to negotiate fees, pitch confidently, but ultimately hold that really big vision of what your career, what you want it to look like and how you want it to feel. And this is exactly why I asked you to contribute to the book, to that chapter, because for anyone who wants to up level, your work is absolutely crucial. So let's kick off with the first question. Why does embarking on a new career and taking steps that bring you closer to your dreams, why does that always feel so uncomfortable? And what can we do to overcome this self-doubt?
Yeah, good and big question to kick off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually doing the Graduate Fashion Week and talking on this very topic this year. And one of the things that I focused on there was just the fact that as human beings, anything that is unfamiliar or new is an automatic no. Like it's a reject from both your nervous system and your belief system. We are built not to take chances and go bigger. We are actually built to stay safe. And until we understand that the power and what we want in our career or businesses doesn't come from that pushing harder mentality, and it actually comes from just expanding that safety that we feel from within, both in the
Mhm.
nervous system, stress levels, then we're always going to think self-sabotage is our problem, like we're the problem. When actually, this new book of mine, Unlock Your Power, and my previous book is all about patterns, and that we're just really a product of patterns, and that inner limit is not us. And we can actually shift past that and open that up. And that's when things start to kick in and you start to get great things happening and you've got your mojo and you go and get it.
I love that. Amazing. So while we're on that journey, I always feel this is the point where you're being pushed to that upper limit, and that's when imposter syndrome starts to kick in. And this happens for so many people. It's really sneaky. Even people who are hugely successful have those voices in their head. And I give this story in the chapter that you contributed to about when I did this advertising years ago. It was for a whiskey brand. It was really highly paid. It was basically just to style people in like jeans and t-shirts and have them sitting in the pub. And I completely overthought it. I just thought there's no way I can be hired to do this. This is too simple. I overcooked it, over prepped it, convinced myself, the creative director is going to be really, really difficult. And on the day, I mean, I was so anxious and so stressed out. On the day, I did the fittings, got to the set at 8 p.m., and everyone turned around and started clapping. And people were applauding me for doing such a great job. And I realized in that moment that I was the only one who had convinced myself I wasn't good enough to do the job. And I had created all of that stress in my life. So, how can we become aware of all of these patterns that we create, and how can we become aware of our own imposter syndrome? Like, are there any signs that we're self-sabotaging? What would be your initial tips?
So I tend to think, coming from two backgrounds, so coming from my TV exec background, where I ran sort of teams and creative teams, and now where I'm sort of mainly working with founders or creatives or leaders, it's always the same. And there are telltale signs. The thing is usually overthinking, it's second guessing, it's procrastinating, it's all the things that we say to ourselves, oh, I should not be doing that, but I can't get out of the loop. So the way that we can actually get out of the loop and not just talk about, unlocking your power and getting what you want, is that you have to know exactly what it is related to your desire that is holding you back.
Mm,
Because I call them imps. Imposter syndrome is a good sort of way. You know this from Pivot into Power days. Like, my system in the book is based on that. It's like you've got what I call invisible mind patterns, imps. And they show up in all different parts of your life for different desires. It shows up in career, but it might show up differently in love. It might show up differently in money. You might have a block around, like you had, my worth. Am I actually good enough for this? Even when everyone's telling you you are. They come up differently for every person, but they tend to be archetypal. And the best thing that you can do to figure that out is to work out what you want to debunk and then how to ditch it. And my technique, rapid tapping, is the quickest way I found to actually work with the feeling that you have. Often, like, we forget that mindset is not just like a floating thing up here in your mind, and you can talk
mm,
yourself into something or out of something. That's when most people think they're failing. It's actually a whole body thing. So it's mind body connected. So you can kind of work with the clues. And that's why I do a lot with energy work and tapping and EFT and rapid tapping, because it's kind of like, that is actually how you make a change, by regulating your system. When you regulate your system and then take action, it's just a different energy and you just feel more confident and ready.
yeah, fab. Really valuable. So I would love to talk to you a bit more about rapid tapping, because I actually recommend that people do EFT tapping and meditation and breath work within the book. Um, so I lead people from, networking and inspiration right up to what you do on a photo shoot. And a big thing for me that I really wanted to discuss was the night before some of your first photo shoots, because when I reminisce with colleagues, we were all so fearful and really anxious and we couldn't sleep. And at the time, you think it's just you, but it's actually happening to so many people. They just don't talk about it. And when you're beginning your career, it can be quite overwhelming. Um, so I do say, the night before a shoot, just do some meditation or do some EFT tapping or some tapping before you get to the shoot. And as you've mentioned, you are an EFT tapping expert and you've created your own method of EFT, which is called rapid tapping. So I'd love you to tell us a little bit more about that and how exactly does it help people de-stress?
Yeah. So rapid tapping was sort of born out of working with people in stressful, high pressure situations. So that was me working with clients who were top of the game, embarking on like new levels all the time. You were one of them. And it's
Mm.
just people who, just need something that actually works. And I found that rapid tapping was the method that I would have wanted if I'd have rewound all those years when I was, losing a lot of my health from too much work and too much stress, too much overwhelm, trying to hold it all together.
Mm.
I found EFT tapping back then, like 15 years ago, and then trained in it as a practitioner. It really helped me with a lot of specific trauma release. But it didn't necessarily help me to create what I wanted in a quick way. And what I mean by that one is that I was finding that I needed to incorporate visualization. I needed to incorporate how I could manifest and create things. And so what happened was, people that I was working with, I just kept sending them away with something that was new and different and aimed towards finding possibility and goals, and, you know, really categorizing your life around these. And so what happened was the approach became about how we can unlock possibilities and potential. So it came that people started using this before, like boardrooms, before shows. I worked with a lot of actors and stuff. Probably backstage, I did it with British Fashion Council. They used rapid tapping as a team.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we were using it in these situations because it's only about 5 minutes that you need. And also you're very particular with the language that you use. So yeah, of course, tapping is clinically proven to reduce stress and shut down the amygdala, which is sort of your fight or flight, you know, in your brain. It's keeping you safe and keeping you wired. But it's also using particular language in a way that supports your outcome that is desired by you.
Amazing. It's so helpful. I mean, it's such a big game changer. If I was to pick anything, meditation, breath work, or rapid tapping, I would say rapid tapping, hands down, all day, every day. It gets the really fast results.
Yeah, it does. It's good. They're all good, aren't they? It's just finding your
Yeah.
thing, but it's quite an
Yeah.
active form of
Yeah.
self-care, really.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, throughout the book, I know this is something that you'll relate to. At the end of every chapter, I encourage the reader to take an inspired action. So, they have to do the work. So, it's not a book that you just read and put on a coffee table and that's it. If you want to build a network, the
You
portfolio,
could do. It's a very, very
you,
sexy book.
yeah,
I've got it in my
thank
kitchen.
you. Love that. But you got to actually do the work. And a
Yeah.
big part of it, like so many chapters, really the underlying theme is mindset, because you've got to create all of those opportunities for yourself. And one of the inspired action points I give is actually a reading list for people to really delve into mindset, overcoming limiting beliefs, and working on their self-talk, because you can create the most amazing styling portfolio in the whole world, but you also need the confidence to put yourself out there, to pitch to clients, to know your work, to negotiate rates. And this is where your new book, Unlock Your Power, really comes into play. So I wanted to make sure we discuss this today, because you help people do that and more and more. So tell us about your new book, and how can Unlock Your Power help people break old patterns and create change that lasts?
Thank you. Yeah, this book came from my own experience about 15 years ago, when I actually woke up one morning and then was losing my sight. And I ended up in an MRI scan, and I ended up really reevaluating everything, and lost a lot of personal sort of life beliefs that I had that were great. You know, I had the marriage, I had the job, I was a TV producer, you know, had everything that success was meant to look like, and then quickly it was whipped away. And I spent about a month in sort of dark rooms listening to audiobooks and really exploring lots of books. I could only listen, and my senses were really heightened, you
Mm,
know, because, you know, that's all I had. So I was forced to listen to myself the first time, my intuition, and I learned to desire again. And the first step in my book is desire, and it's a process. So it really is a system. So the idea has come from me then actually getting the courage to actually leave my career at the height of it. And, you know that I was really high up in television and judging BAFTAs and had this great job. And I didn't hate it. I just knew there was something that I really was passionate about, which was helping other people. So it gave me, through the steps, they will begin with D, you know, desire, is the first one. We forget that. Discover, decide, debunk, ditch. It's a big one. Then do, and then done, which is more of a feeling that you've actually connected to that than it just a tick. But it often with me does end with a tick, because I like people to get what they want. But I suppose, the thing that I wanted to share in this book, when HarperCollins were like, can you make that into a book, your process that you do with people? I said, yeah, because the thing I think with mindset is you think maybe often as a person who's not experienced a catastrophe to the level maybe that I did, that you're kind of stuck with where you are and all of the thoughts that you have and the things you believe about yourself. And so I wanted to write it for people who maybe didn't have the luxury, and I would call it a luxury now, of having that complete meltdown, catastrophe, burnout, awakening, whatever you want to call it. Because I believe that it's really about what we repeat, not what happens to us. So if you repeat patterns that are bigger than what the past patterns are, and you know how to do that step by step, and like you, I like people to take action and do the exercises. They're all simple and there's a lot of tapping in it, rapid tapping. Then you actually get the change. So yeah, I'm really excited about it because it's sort of bigger than the last book, because it's the whole complete system, around it.
I'm so excited to read it. I have a copy here. Thank you so much. So it's next on my list to read. And obviously, I've gone through the program, so
Yeah.
I can totally say it absolutely works. So everyone needs to go grab a copy of Unlock Your Power. So, Poppy, tell us, where can people find you on social media?
I am mostly here, actually, Poppy Delbridge on Instagram. And I do have a YouTube, Poppy Delbridge Official, that I'm just building. A little late to the
Amazing.
party. And then at Rapid Tapping as well on Instagram.
Fantastic. That's been pure gold. Thank you so much, Poppy. I really appreciate you coming on, giving such incredible advice to all
Oh,
of the aspiring creatives who are going to see this. And for anyone who wants to get a copy of Fashion Stylist and build their career as a stylist, head to the link in my bio. And if you would like to get a copy of Unlock Your Power, head to @Poppy Delbridge on Instagram. And I'm sure there's a link in your bio there to get it too.
yeah.